Hello, this is a 5-minute or so video on C90. We're coming towards the end of C90 module in the first year. Got a few weeks left. So this is a quick overview on what's left, and it's also focused on the statistics element. So this is taken from C90. These are all your tasks. You can see there's 4 main tasks that you need to be working on this. Task 1, which is your referencing. Task 2, critical reading task, and there's the articles. Task 3 is your professional development project. You can see how to do it there. And then we have task 4 part 1, task 4 part 2, which are stats worksheets. One's on correlations, one's on t-tests. I'm going to focus on correlations for this, and you can see what is available, and then you can go away and work on the t-test as well. So what you have in each of these sections is a worksheet. Download it, fill it out, hand it back in January. You also have PowerPoint slides, which are based on the ones I'm going to show you now, so you can look through those as well. You also have the data that you need to do. The worksheets have been set up so that the tasks are doable, but we will go through them in class when we get a chance in the next session, and I went through them this morning as well. I'm going to go through these quickly. It's not meant to be a full-on session, it's more to explain some of the intricacies of what's available. It's not that hard. Look through it yourself. The best thing to do with statistics is to Google stuff. If you don't understand, Google it. What test should I use? What is a correlation? How to do correlation in Excel? How can I report a correlation in an appropriate style in an academic paper? These are all things that you can Google. These are all things you'll find out. And focusing on correlations, you can see here in this figure is a simple presentation of a classic correlation. We have grade point average, what sort of percentages you get, and then the hours spent studying. You can see here that this suggests that the people that spend the most amount of time studying are getting the greatest grades. As with any correlation, we have to do some double checking, and we have to think about our research design to be confident that the hours spent leads to the grade point average increasing and not the other way around. It could be that the people that get the highest grades are just the people that spend the most amount of time. But as we can imagine, more than likely it's going to be the hours spent, the greater grades you get. So what we do is we plot them on a scatter plot. Each one of those represents one person, and they have 2 values, hours spent studying and grade point average. And you can see that if we were to add a best fit line, broadly speaking, that would be a positive correlation. Another example there is the time spent to run 100 meters and the amount of time spent training. So this suggests that people get faster as they do more training. That's called a negative correlation. You can see that's not a bad thing, that's a good thing. It's just that the values we've been using mean that a negative correlation is a good thing. We spend more time doing one thing and the other thing improves, the other variable improves. So it's always important to plot your figures first when you're looking at correlations. To do analysis for correlation, you can do stuff by hand. We can write it out on paper and use a calculator. We can use Excel, we can use SPSS. What we're going to look at today is using Excel, and that's what the worksheet's based on. I'll show you how to do it by hand. It takes a long time. SPSS gives you more stats, more results, a bit more complex, but we don't have to use SPSS. The statistical analysis we're going to look at is called the correlation, Pearson correlation, and it produces a single R value to represent the degree to which these 2 variables are correlated. I'll leave you to read the slides. This explains the formula itself. That might look daunting, it's relatively straightforward, and the next few slides will show you how simple it is. And again, I'll go through them quickly. You can go through them at your leisure. Remember, we don't have to do this. This is what Excel and SPSS will do for us, but it makes sense to look at what Excel is doing for us. So let's imagine we had 2 variables here, body mass and the number of pull-ups that one can do. Each of these participants can do. So this is body mass in kilograms, and this is the number of pull-ups. We can see someone who's heavy here is doing less, and someone who's lighter, not much lighter, is doing a few more. We already can see there's not that much of a correlation here. So let's see what the numbers come out as. Well, in order to work this out, the formula that you've just seen, we need to square the x values, we need to square the y values, then we need to multiply x by y, and then across the bottom we have the sums of all of these columns. If we were to study this in more depth, we would look at why this is the case. We don't need to know at this stage why. We just need to know what test to use, what numbers to plug in, and what the results should look like so that we can double check it. This takes us back to our formula. You can see the long formula at the top. You can see the values at the bottom here that we've just produced. We plug those values in. Plug those values in to this formula. Simplifies it slightly above and below the line, and it gives us one value. So for that data, we have now produced a Pearson's correlation calculation figure. R equals minus 0.54. That means it's a negative correlation, which means it goes downwards. As weight increases, the number of pull-ups decreases. In terms of the number itself, with 0.54, so that would place it somewhere in between a low and a moderate. We would call it a moderate correlation. So it's not as well correlated as this 0.8, but it's more correlated than this minus 0.3. We would call it a medium level correlation, medium strength correlation. We're going to use Excel. You're going to use Excel. So things you need to do: produce a graph of your data. Use a scatter plot. There's two sets of data. We'll see it in a minute. Then what you need to do is use these links here to tell you how to do correlations. They will take you to articles online, and they'll give you really straightforward. There's only 2 or 3 stages to do, but you just need to follow the instructions. If you have a different version of Word or Excel, then look up how to do it. But it is honestly, it's pretty straightforward. I'll show you how straightforward in a second. And you can look through the rest of the slides. The worksheet is here, and you can see the questions are: describe the term correlation. The way to answer this is perfectly acceptable to look on Google to get a definition, and then to put the URL in there. It doesn't have to be all your own words. Insert your figure. So we want a scatter plot in there of heart rate versus age. I'll show you the data in a second. Then we need to copy and paste again instructions on how you do the analysis in Excel. So do it when it works. The method that you use, copy and paste it into that. In a sentence, describe the results of the analysis as you might in a lab report. If you Google how to report a correlation in an academic report, then you should find several articles which explain how to do it. Identify a journal article that is used in analysis of correlations. So look up a journal article that's performed statistical analysis on correlation, and then again cut and paste with a reference into this question. The purpose of this worksheet is so that you go through the process of doing the correlation, and then you have a record of how to do it, so that when you come back to it next year, it's clear that you've done it already, and this might help you remember how to do it. What else can we do? We can look at Excel. So on Learning Space, there is a set of data. This is the set of data for correlations. This data analysis on the top right is what I've added by following the instructions on the PowerPoint slides about adding a tool pack. Some of you with more up-to-date versions of Excel won't need to do this, but you are looking for correlations. So I'm going to run you through it. I've added that box already, so don't be confused. It won't be there straight away. Work out how to do it. I'm going to choose correlation. I'm going to press OK. I now need to choose my data. I'm going to choose 2 sets of data. I'm now going to choose where I'm going to put it. I'll stick it there. There's a value. That's my minus 0.15. You need to practice that. You need to take shots of it. You need to report it. That's how easy it is. Work out how to work out what correlations mean. Fill out the worksheets, and away you go. There's also a t-test on Learning Space. So back here, you'll also see t-test. So there's worksheet, slides, data. Your job is to complete those 2 and hand them in January. Thank you very much.